Hi there, Brian Vicente here with this week's Vicente Sederberg update. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be talking about things at the state level with the MED. We'll be talking about what is going on in Denver. And also we want to start off with a new section we're trying out, which is called Compliance Tip of the Week. And this is basically, we talk to the MED almost every day, and they're trying to have us address some things with our client to try to head them off at the front end to create less problems for you and less problems for them. So the tip of the week here is, what do we do when a criminal activity has occurred at one of your licensed premises? So that could be a employee stealing, that could be someone trying to break in and steal from your grow and whatnot. And what we need to do in these situations, there is actually an MED rule on this. We need to report these to the MED within 72 hours or 3 business days. So, a lot of folks think if it's, if the police aren't called or whatnot, although we do recommend you call the police when things like this happen, they don't have to report, but in fact you do. In terms of reporting, typically what we do is we'll draft an email and send it to our contacts at the MED, just explaining the place, the time, what occurred, and if possible, any sort of mitigation or steps that you took after the fact to add new security cameras, etc. So, important thing to keep in mind, please let the MED know within 3 days, business days, and if you have any questions, let us know. So on to statewide issues. As you know, the MED continues to meet. There was a full-day meeting that our staff was at last week. The purpose of these is to help refine the medical rules as well as draft the new recreational rules. A couple of the big issues that came out of that, and these rules will really be in place come October 1, but we'll see them well in advance. And if there are things that you really think should be addressed, we are meeting frequently with the MED to discuss these proposed rules, so please let us know. A couple of the big things that were discussed last week, it looks like they're going to move towards redefining immature plant so that small plants or clones will not be considered part of a cultivation facility's plant count. Again, this stuff isn't in effect yet, but I think that could be a very positive change. Other things going on, people are asking if, currently your plant count is tied to your patient count. How does that look when recreational marijuana comes on board? And what they're moving more towards, probably for medical and recreational, is a more tiered system on the grow side. So right now we have different tiers of how big is your dispensary, how big is your store, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. We're looking at actually doing that instead on the grow side. So if you want to have, for instance, 5,000 plants, it'll be this cost. If you want to have 2,500 plants, it'll be this cost. 500 plants, et cetera, et cetera. That could also be tied to square footage as opposed to plant numbers. Still trying to figure that out. So that is an ongoing discussion and something that we are definitely soliciting client input on. How do we best structure those cultivation licenses? Other things going on is they're attempting to kind of streamline the occupational badges. Currently we have the key badge and the support badge. They probably are just going to just create one broader occupational license, streamline that a little bit, which we think makes sense. Other issues, they're looking at beefing up inspections on the MIPS, the kitchens, and this is a top priority for the MED. So if you have thoughts on how they could do this more smoothly, there's some weird interaction between FDA laws and local laws that's kind of preventing them from moving forward quickly, but they're really trying to make sure that these kitchens are held to a high standard. Those are kind of the main issues going on at the state level. Some of you have been following what's going on in Denver. This has been a real roller coaster. The Denver City Council last night took a step towards the following reforms. So they are not in place right now, but they're looking at codifying these issues. We are going to be fighting some of them and trying to roll this out in a smooth fashion. But the three main things they're looking at doing in Denver, one is a 2-year moratorium preventing new businesses from coming in. That would be new recreational businesses. Let us know how you feel about that. That's not really something our firm is very engaged on at this point, but it's an interesting piece to keep in mind. Second, they are looking at establishing needs and desires hearings for any medical business that wants to switch over and become a recreational business. This could be a major administrative lift for the city to accomplish, would involve a lot of work for businesses as well, so we will be engaged on that discussion. Finally, they are looking at limiting these new recreational stores and saying that if you're serving even a population 21 and older, you can make medical sales and recreational sales from the same facility, but you will have to have separate entrances, separate counters, separate exits, and that is a pretty big burden being placed on these businesses. So we are pretty opposed to that, but let us know how you feel. So those are the main things going on statewide and in Denver. Of course, we're tracking what's happening in all parts of the state. If you have any questions, please let us know.